and welcome to the Foundation Year Applicant Support Webinar podcast. This is our second podcast, and today we'll be focusing on the FYSAQ. So, what is the FYSAQ? What does this mean? We'll go into that in this session. But first, I would like to talk about our applicant support webinars. If you're interested in joining these are a step-by-step process through the application process for the foundation year. This one is going to be around, as I say, the FYSAQ, and we have our students here to give a student perspective on that process. But if you want more details, more information, join us in the webinar, and you can sign up at the Foundation Year website. It's foundationyear.cam.ac.uk. If you do /events, you'll see all our events, and you can sign up for the webinar there. But I'm joined by two of our students today. Jaden, would you like to introduce yourself? Who are you? What do you study? What stage are you at? Your college? Anything else you think would be interesting about yourself?
I'm Jaden. I'm a second-year historian at Fitzwilliam College, and I was part of the first cohort of foundation students 2 years ago.
Fantastic. And we have Lulu. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Lulu. I'm now first-year law at Downing College, and I was part of the second cohort, so the last foundation year cohort.
Amazing. So when this podcast goes out, we're going to be in November. So it's going to be released in November. This will be the time we'll be talking about the FYSAQ. Do you remember, Lulu, when you were in the foundation year, how you felt at this stage of the course? So you're in November, you're on the foundation year. How was it going? Were there any struggles in settling in? Did you have any issues? And what did you enjoy? What did you achieve?
I would say November was the almost reality month, because October is your honeymoon period. You're in this beautiful new city. Cambridge is so lovely. You've met all these people, and here you are, you have your opportunity. But then, it's like you're at university now. So it's just the period of realising I'm here to do work, but also realising that you can actually cope with the work as well, because there's a lot of fears when you go into Cambridge thinking, what if I'm not good enough? And a lot of people have imposter syndrome and worry that the work might be too hard for them. But so I would call November a resolution month.
Resolution month, I like that. So was there one thing that you really struggled with, and is there one thing that you were really happy that you achieved or you managed to do?
I would say probably the hardest thing in November was the first piece of sort of formative work, which is just something that we submit before we do anything that's properly assessed. And it's my first time doing all the proper citations, and you're really anxious to get it right and anxious to get your feedback. So I was really glad when I got that back, and I just felt like, okay, we're on track. We can do this.
That's good. So that must have been a really positive feeling. Did you have quite a lot of support from the academics and from the teaching staff?
Yeah, the support from the academics is it's unparalleled, especially if you have any sort of learning needs, because we have a direct team with ADRC who will help you as well if you struggle. Very understanding, and they made sure that everything was thoroughly explained, and they don't get mad at you even if they said something 3 times and you ask for the 4th. So yeah.
That's amazing. That's fantastic. And I'm sure Deb would be very happy that you mentioned the ADRC, which is fantastic. Jaden, I want to ask you a similar question, but a little bit of a different angle. So you're currently in your second year of studying history. How was it in your first year in November? So you've just progressed, you've moved on from the foundation year. How was history at this point in your first year of studying? Was there anything that you were struggling with, or anything that you thought, I'm doing really well, this is a great achievement?
So in terms of the things that went well, essentially I had a leg up on everyone that was doing history. Citations were really easy. My first supervision was really easy. And people were complaining about not knowing what to do and stuff. I just knew what to do straight away because I've done it for a year already. So that in terms of the academic side, it was really good. In the supervision, I knew what questions to ask. I knew when to ask questions. I knew how to format essays. I knew how to ask for more help even, because I'd already been in that environment for 12 months, obviously. I'd say in terms of, there were some sides that were a bit more difficult because the other tripos courses are a little bit more different to the foundation year. And what happened in the November was essentially I got a spike in friends. So I started going to more different places. So I made more friends. And then I had to balance that with the new increased workload in my course. And so that was quite difficult. But the good thing is that through the foundation year, when I had to balance social life and my academics, I reached out for support with my tutors. And so when I started struggling in November, I knew exactly what to do. And so I got the support I needed, and I'm still here.
That's amazing. So you felt like the foundation year sort of gave you the tools and stuff to cope, especially if things start getting a little bit harder. You knew you had the confidence and the tools to actually cope with that situation.
Yeah.
That's amazing. On more of a student life aspect, at this point in November, have you been going to lots of formals, lots of events, anything like that? How is student life at this point?
For me, I felt a bit old in first year because I got all of that out my system in foundation year. So in November, I was going to a lot of formals. I went to like Halloween stuff. We have Halloween formals at Fitzwilliam College. So yeah, I went to a lot of events, but I think it kind of slowed down compared to foundation year. But that was because I think foundation year, I was able to have my fun and also do well. And then in the first year, I decided to kind of lock in and focus a little bit more.
Before we go back to Lulu for hers, I do have a question about Fitzwilliam, because obviously they have those gardens where they're growing lots of vegetables and things like that. Around Halloween, are they growing pumpkins? Is that something they're doing?
Yeah, they are. We actually, basically what happens is we have a dedicated gardener, and he basically plants loads of plants. And so around Halloween, he plants pumpkins, and what happens is that once they're grown, it's a race to get them, basically. So anyone can come get them. So we all race and see who can get them first.
That's amazing. That's one of my favourite things about Fitzwilliam when I'm in those grounds, is walking around and looking at the vegetable patches. Unfortunately, I'm at that age where vegetables and growing vegetables is exciting. You'll all get there. But Lulu, how about yourself in November? Were you attending lots of formals, lots of events? How was student life for you?
I was attending the club maybe a little too much. I wasn't quite on the formals yet. I did go maybe to one or two, but I didn't really attend this till later on in the year. But I'd say I was very immersed in foundation year life, I think. So I'd hang out a lot with my foundation year friends. We'd go eat dinner in Cambridge, spend a lot of the money that we were given, maybe too much of the money. So yeah, I think I was actually looking back. I haven't really looked back properly yet, but it was really lovely time actually.
And one thing on the foundation year that they really do like to talk about is the trips. There's lots of trips in the foundation year and going to places. Do either of you have a favourite trip that you had from the foundation year that you really enjoyed or thought was a great experience?
Yes, I am an English nerd. I love English so much. I love literature. And we got to go to John Clare's cottage. And John Clare, like in school, I used to love John Clare's poems. He's amazing. Honestly, you should read him. And we got to see where he lived. We got to go through his house. We got to go through the woods that he wrote about, and we got to see like the track that he walked from London. It was all great. That was a day where I was like, yeah, this is like top class education.
How
about yourself, Lulu? Did you have a favourite trip? Or
I had a favourite trip, but it wasn't as significant as I had a favourite. Was he a poet?
Yeah, he was a poet.
Oh wow, yeah. See, I wouldn't even know. But yeah, I had a favourite poet. We went on the Richard trip. This was in November actually as well, to Leicester, and I just think everyone that was there was just everyone was just happy to be there. It's such a good vibes trip, you know. It didn't feel overly rigorous academically, but then everything that we were doing made everything else fall into place. And it's like we're going on these trips because they actually help. Yeah. You know, we didn't just want a day trip to Leicester. Although we all did have fun getting food in Leicester Town Centre.
I gotta say, I don't think there's anything wrong with having a bit of fun, having good food, but it is nice to hear that it's sort of fed back into your studies and sort of informed some of the stuff that you were learning. So that's a really amazing thing. Now, when I'm talking about the FYSAQ, do either of you remember what the FYSAQ stands for? We love acronyms. Do you remember what it stands for?
Oh, not the acronym.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a test for you both.
Ooh.
Foundation year supplementary questionnaire.
Additional.
Application. So yes, it's the foundation year supplementary application questionnaire. You can see why I'm not saying that, and I'm just saying FYSAQ. Yeah. It's a bit of a mouthful saying that every single time. So the FYSAQ, you usually get this about 48 hours after submitting your UCAS application. And you have on average about 2 weeks to complete the FYSAQ. When you received yours, do you remember if you completed yours straight away? Did you put it off? What was your how did you attack it? Did you go straight into it?
I put it off.
You put it off?
Yeah, it's a bad habit I have.
How about you, Lily? Did you put it off?
Yeah, I left it to the last 3 days
Okay, so the reason I ask is because the earlier you submit your application for your UCAS application, you then have a bigger window. So you don't want to have a really short window for completing it. So if you want more time, it's ideal to actually submit your UCAS application early where possible. Then you have more time to do the FYSAQ. Now, do you remember, either of you, your FYSAQ?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Now, how was this process and how did you find out about it? But how did you research the criteria for the FYSAQ?
So I think the first instance, I remember looking through like a handbook a lot. Do you remember it's like a PDF document they had on the website, and that was like the the authoritative work for foundation year at that point, because obviously you guys' cohort were the first one, so it's not like you go and ask someone, or some schools probably don't even know, so it was like, do you know what, I think I emailed as well. I was certain I was eligible, but they were like so keen to, if you had any questions, to just email and ask, just to make sure that it was so simple to do so.
So did you email the foundation year inbox?
Yeah, I did.
How did you find the email? Was it on the website?
It was on the document and it was on the
Fantastic.
website.
That's amazing, and you managed to get a response from our team.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
It's always nice to get a good review when we have the.
Yeah, it was very efficient. 5 stars.
That's fantastic. How about yourself, Jaden? How did you research the criteria, and how was the process?
So yeah, because there was no one that had done it before us, I read the handbook. I remember doing that. I think I also emailed, and I also got a response very promptly. So good review again. I think what I also did is I'll try to look at the SAQ, the normal one, the normal SAQ, and I tried to see what other Cambridge students were trying to put in theirs. And obviously, I didn't copy what they were doing for foundation, because foundation is very specific. But it just gave me a general overview of the type of thing that you can put in a supplementary application. So I did that combined with the response I got in the email with the advice in the handbook. Then I was like, okay, I think I've got a good gauge to start writing.
Okay, and for both of you, did you attend the application webinar around the FYSAQ?
Yes.
I did indeed.
You did, and how did you find that? Was that useful to hear someone from the team actually talking about it? Jaden, you wouldn't have had any students on yours because you were the first lot we had, but was it useful to hear people like Jaden talking about the process as well?
It was so helpful. It's like, when you, with a ridiculously long acronym as well, when you hear it, it's kind of hard to know what they want from you, and it's always like a mind game with university admissions, especially when you think of, Cambridge or Oxbridge, anywhere in general, that what do they want from me? This is a test. The first thing I needed to know was this a test? Am I being tested? Are they looking for something? Is this to show my academic rigor? But, obviously hearing that it's not, this is just so we can know more about you and really make sure that you're the right fit for the course and you'll benefit from the course, was probably very helpful for that webinar. I think probably the best thing that I got from it.
That's also why we try doing events like this and a series like this, where we try to be as transparent as possible. We want you to be successful and to have an idea. And we'll actually go through some example questions in a little bit about the FYSAQ, so you'll have an idea. So Jaden, obviously you had no students to look at when you were making your decision. How important was it to hear from the academic team, from Alex, from Stuart, around the foundation year?
I think it was actually invaluable. So I think what ended up happening was I tried to look for the Cambridge SAQ before the session. So I was desperate for some type of gauge of what to do. Like, I didn't want to go into it blindly because, as Lily said, essentially I didn't want to just go into it and think if I'm getting tested, then I'm kind of done. So
cooked.
Yeah, essentially. So basically what happened was I went into the session having read the SAQ stuff, the normal one. Then I was like, I can kind of forget the SAQ stuff I read because I've now got specific information for the process that I'm doing. And they gave me every single bit of information I needed to comprehensively complete the SAQ, the FYSAQ.
Yeah, because even the acronym is a mouthful, FYSAQ.
Yeah. So I got everything I needed. It was so, especially because Dr. Alex Price, the course director, is on the call, and so having the course director kind of explain the process just felt like, okay, I've got a good gauge on what I need to do.
That's great. And Alex didn't pay us to say that. She isn't in the room, so she'll be happy to hear that, though, I think. And the FYSAQ also, we alluded to this in our previous podcast, is an opportunity to select a college. Did either of you make an open application, or did you select your colleges?
I selected my college. I went through a very judicious process of going through every single pro and con of every single college. It actually ended up being quite easy because I don't like traditional colleges, so I cut like 75% of them. And then from there, I just looked at my interests. So I like to cook, I like to go to the gym. And Fitzwilliam College has a free gym and it has ovens, so I picked Fitzwilliam College.
And as I said, I've been to Fitzwilliam and I like the gardens there, which I think is great. But did you happen to go to any of the open days to get an opportunity to look at any of the colleges, or how did you sort of get a vibe for the college?
So that's a great question. So what I ended up doing was, because I didn't have the opportunity to go to the colleges, so I needed, apart from what I just said, which is the ovens and the gym, I also wanted a space that felt inclusive, that felt nice, that felt welcoming. And so essentially I wanted to find out more about the students that go there. So I'd watch YouTube videos of students that went to Fitzwilliam College. So there's quite a famous one. He's called Joe Binder. He's an entrepreneur now, and he was a Fitzwilliam student. So I watched his videos and I'd see him walking around the college and laughing and talking with his friends. I was like, yeah, I don't mind going there.
That's a great way to decide. And Lulu, how about you? Did you make an open application? Did you choose your college?
I chose Downing, and I also had it was a militant list I had of everything. It was actually an Excel spreadsheet because I'm more of an Excel kind of girl. But I will say that I let things influence my decision that I would advise people don't.
Okay, so what
Google
sort of
what the
things?
best college is for X subject,
Oh, yeah.
because I feel like a lot of people tend to do that, and what's the best college for law? And people will say that, but there is no such thing as best college for X, Y, and Z. It just doesn't really exist, and there are so many things I overlooked when picking a college. Obviously, I think Downing is great. Have you been to Downing?
I have been to Downing.
I've been to Downing.
It's so beautiful.
What's nice is it's a good location for where I work in the
Yeah.
SSC near the old museum, the new museum site with the Whale Cafe.
Yeah.
So it's not too far away from me. So going to Downing, if I need to go there for a meeting or to drop off some materials, it's usually a bit of an easier walk.
Yeah.
So what would you say are some of the positives? You're now at Downing. You've picked that one. What's like a big positive about Downing?
The accommodation. I did go on TikTok as well. And everyone says Downing accommodation is the best accommodation, and they're not lying. My room in first year was like a palace. I looked onto the most beautiful croquet garden and it was just absolutely sublime. It's neoclassical architecture, so the ceilings are high. You've got Georgian height ceilings with it's just absolutely superb. And it's also got like the biggest, I think like a, I don't know what you call it, but an inner court of garden, like the biggest open green space of any college. So when you just walk into the quad in Downing, you just look at this beautiful green just before you. It's wonderful.
It's always one of my favourite things when I walk into one of the colleges, because you walk through the gate past the Porter's Lodge or through the Porter's Lodge, and it feels like you've usually been transported to a different world. Because you walk in, you just go, oh, there's massive green space and this beautiful architecture, or like the gardens in Fitzwilliam and things like that. That I always find that's quite an interesting thing. So did you get a chance to view the college before? So you just went TikTok?
I'd never actually seen Downing other than a few shots that they probably had on the website. I'd seen the accommodation a lot. I think accommodation to me is important, especially for people that have accessibility requirements. Like, always check the accommodation and see what you think will work well for you. But just a lot of Google Mapsing the outside. Seeing where the nearest pub was, and probably things that you do before you go to uni.
Yeah, and I don't think that can be understated. You're going to be living in these colleges and in this space for, we hope, quite a while, maybe 4 years, depending on the course.
Yeah.
You want to be somewhere where you're going to be happy, comfortable, and parents will also be happy to hear that their children are going somewhere where they're going to be happy and comfortable. So this is, I think, an important thing. I always remember I was holding one webinar, and one of the students said, well, the reason she chose her college was because they offered a free laundry service. She just wanted to be able to wash and dry her clothes for free, and that's all she wanted.
That's good.
And I'm like, well, if you have a thing you want, then that's as valid as anything. But I also think saying, Googling a college and which is best for
Yeah.
XYZ.
So don't do it. Don't do it.
It never seems to be the best way to choose a college, in my opinion.
I think it's important to also say that the colleges are more similar than they are different. So any college you pick, you won't be miserable at one and the happiest person in the world at the other. Most colleges are great. If you speak to people from each college, they'll tell you that their college is the best college at Cambridge. And my college is definitely the best college at Cambridge. So yeah, I think you won't like regret your choice or anything. So yeah, just pick what you're most comfortable with.
Okay, so we're going to think about the FYSAQ a little bit. I have a couple of the example questions, and I want you both to sort of answer these questions or maybe give them an idea of what they can expect. So an example of a question you might see on the FYSAQ is, what interested you in the foundation year at the University of Cambridge? Do either of you have an answer or remember your answer as to what interested you in the foundation year?
I think I remember my answer, unless I'm fakely remembering it now based on what's happened. But it was just, I think I spoke a lot about opportunity, because this is obviously a very unique opportunity. And I mean, even at times it doesn't feel real. I said, like, there's a honeymoon period. It's like, am I actually being given this chance? So I think for me, it was the opportunity to study somewhere where I always wanted to study. So I always wanted to study at Cambridge, but there were things, like, for a lot of applicants that got in the way. So it was just like, this has come to me, and it's like giving me that chance that I know, you know, I could have been here, but I might have missed. So yeah, it's like a saving grace.
I think that's great. And how about you, Jaden? Do you remember, or do you have an answer for what interested you in the foundation year?
Yeah, so I talked about how I'm an indecisive person. I have many different interests, and I wanted to do a course that could feed all of my interests. I like multifaceted problems, and so a course that has many different prongs of subjects can equip me to be able to face those problems. So I focused on why the course specifically would interest me. I think I kept talking about how it's an interdisciplinary, or some would say multidisciplinary course, and how that specifically catered to the way that I'm hardwired, and also that I'm not dead set on any subject. I enjoy many different subjects, and so I'd love the opportunity to be able to explore different subjects at university level.
Okay, I think that's good. So we do have another question, but I'm going to change it a little bit. So the question is, what did you hope to achieve by participating in the foundation year? Now, you've both completed the foundation year, so I'd like to actually hear what you have achieved by participating in the foundation year. So do either of you have an answer for something that you achieved through the foundation year?
Yeah, so I've always liked being in leadership positions. So I think I was head boy in school. And then because of the foundation, I managed to become JCR president of Fitzwilliam College. So that was quite cool. And I think the foundation year gave me the confidence to be able to run for things like that. Because up until in school, a lot of things kind of didn't go the way that I wanted them to go. But then I got admitted to the foundation year, and then I passed the foundation year. Then I was like, wow, I can feel at home at Cambridge. So then when it was like running for the president position, it's like, oh, this is something else I should try. So I think the foundation year has set me up now where I look at opportunities and I attack them rather than kind of thinking that I might not be good enough.
Okay, and how is that at the moment? So have you got lots of planning to do? Have you got lots of tasks through that new role?
Yeah, so I'm in charge of Freshers Week at Fitzwilliam College. So currently I'm spending all my time trying to order fun stuff, you know, club events, foods, trying to make sure they're safe, you know, they don't go too crazy at the clubs. So yeah, that's taken up a lot of my time. It's also taught me time management skills, which again, that was from the foundation year where, you know, you have a lot of contact hours compared to other courses that are in the humanities. So I think I was very well equipped to succeed and thrive at Cambridge because of the foundation year.
That's great. And having come from an event planning and hospitality background, it's a lot of fun, isn't it? Trying to sort out, especially like catering and then also balancing of health and safety. Sometimes you feel like you're a bit of a wet blanket, being like, can't do that, let's keep everyone safe. So how about yourself, Lulu? What have you achieved by participating in the foundation year?
So I think I achieved what my original goal was. I think there's an interesting difference between you and I, that you said yourself you're always interested in a sort of interdisciplinary, and I think it's okay to say now that there are people that go in with a fixed kind of idea of what they want to do, and people that don't know yet. And I think those are two great things. But for me, I achieved what I wanted to get onto law at Tripos, which is really good. But also just kind of immerse myself in Cambridge life and in the course. I feel really connected to the course, actually. I'm treasurer for Foundation Year Society. Cool. So, and I'm helping out at the induction week, which is actually this week, the week of recording.
Yeah.
So I baited you out a bit. When you do this course, it's like, I don't know, I feel like I have loyalties. Do you know what I mean? It's really something special. And I think more than anything I achieved, I feel like I've gained maybe a sentiment rather than achieved something. Do you know what I mean? I achieved obviously my original goal, but I think what's kind of more valuable to me is now I feel like I can help and kind of play a role in the next foundation years.
That's amazing. That's really good. So we're going to move on to some top tips for completing the FYSAQ. Before I give our list of useful tips, what advice would you give students in completing their FYSAQ? Would you have any advice, any guidance, any tips, anything to avoid?
Oh, yeah. Here's what I did, and that's why I just remembered why I did it late. Whatever you do, if you're in school, you want to submit your application. I submitted my application on December 19th. Schools break up. You need evidence, don't you? Mm-hmm. And sometimes when you don't have the evidence yourself, the school provides the evidence, but you can't get a hold of them if it's that 2 weeks. So I actually think I emailed to ask for an extension on the questionnaire because of the holidays. So if you can, avoid doing that. But if you do it, make sure that you have enough time to collect your evidence from your school. If you have someone you can contact the school, or if you're more independent, like your caseworker or something like that. And then if you don't, always contact the foundation year team. They're there to help.
That's great. So some of the questions you may face in the FYSAQ are what impact your circumstances you've faced so far, and what makes you eligible for the programme, also describing any additional responsibilities or things like that. Mm-hmm. So that would fall into that category. And you've ticked off a couple of my top tips, which is good. So that's great. How about you, Jaden?
I'd say what's really interesting is that Lily talked about the kind of opportunity that the Cambridge Foundation Year is, and I talked more about the course, which shows that you should really kind of be true to yourself and write about what actually makes you interested rather than trying to predict what they think is a good answer and write what that is. You should genuinely just talk about why you want to apply, why you're essentially at that point of completing the FYSAQ. I think being true to yourself will essentially carry you through to where you should be.
That's great. So our top tips, going to cover some of the stuff that's already been said here, but get started as soon as you can. And you can find guidance online walking you through the FYSAQ. Part of that is this webinar series that we're currently recording a podcast for. Gather your evidence in advance, if possible. But also let us know if you don't receive your email. So as both have said, we're very communicative through email. If you have an issue, email us. The team are always very helpful, and we'll try to get in contact with you. Don't miss the deadline. That's a big one. If you miss the deadline, then it's going to be an issue. Make sure you're adding the correct evidence as well. This just makes the process smoother. And once again, we have lots of materials, videos, things like that can help you go through the process and figure out what you should be doing for your FYSAQ. Also, if you are interested in signing up for the webinars or any upcoming events, do go to the Foundation Year website at foundationyear.cam.ac.uk. If you put /events, you'll find all our latest events. But we're coming toward the end of our second podcast. And one thing I just want to pull a thread on is something you brought up, Lulu, about the Foundation Year Society.
Yeah.
So is this a new thing that's being developed? What's the community like between the Foundation Year students? And Jaden, maybe you could also talk about how the community was being from the first cohort for the Foundation Year.
I'll just say, Foundation Year Society did start last year. It started from the offset. Our last president, Isaac, fantastic guy, absolutely fantastic. I think Lewis was the treasurer and Amelie was events. Really good community, and it's hard to establish a community for something that hasn't existed yet. So obviously I can't speak for you guys, but for us, I think probably the most, I guess, meaningful moment was the halfway hall. Did you attend the halfway hall?
My one.
Our one, like as a cohort.
Oh no, I had a subject thing that day.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh well, if it's a highlight for me. I'm sure you remember yours as well.
Yeah.
But just all coming together, basically a big formal hall. So our year and some people from your year, even some people who chose to go to other universities as well, had come back, and we all had dinner together, and it's just reassuring actually, and you get to contact other people that have finished the course when you're in the middle of your course, so you get a lot of advice, and we're always happy to help other students. You know what I mean? I think that's one thing you'll find about foundation year students is they really, really are keen to help the other foundation year students.
That's great, and we can all attest to that as we're currently,
Yeah.
as been alluded to, we're recording this during the induction week of our new crop of students. Jane, did you also say you're going to be joining for one of the events tonight for the induction week?
So I will be joining for the kind of mock matriculation dinner tonight. So the foundation students get to have like their first dinner, and I was invited. So.
Where's that being hosted?
Fitzwilliam.
Fitzwilliam. So it is it's your stomping ground. So the big man in the college.
The president has arrived for the dinner.
It's a big name for the dinner. So how was it with that first group of foundation year students? Was it a good community? Did you feel well supported within your own community, your own team?
Yeah, it's really cool to hear Lily say that actually, because I think I remember the conversations about starting the foundation year FYSAQ, and so to hear you say that's really cool that like it's come to fruition. And there's a good community where people learn from each other, and you know the years that have progressed can kind of pass down knowledge. In terms of our year, our community was really good. I think everyone got along. Everyone wanted to see each other succeed. It's really cool. I'll just go to a random event and then I'll see someone from foundation year. It's like, oh my God, how you doing? And then like we've all gone off to do all different things. So it's really cool to essentially have that connection. And I think the coolest thing about all of this is that I think foundation year students have something in common that most other Cambridge students don't. And so it's a lot more personal when I see a foundation student, when I meet them for the first time, or when I see them again after having spent the whole foundation with them. So I think it's an amazing community. I think it's probably like one of the strongest communities at Cambridge because of how we're kind of part of the same identity. We have the same kind of start at Cambridge.
That's amazing. I don't think we're going to get any better than that, so I think we'll finish on that note. But thank you both for joining us on the second podcast around the applicant support webinar. We will have our third one, which will be around, I believe we have a support panel in December. We'll also have one in January, which will give you an opportunity to ask lots of questions, and we'll have students like yourselves being part of that panel. So if you have any questions you would like to ask to the students, definitely sign up for that at the Foundation Year website. There'll be information on the screen and in the description on how you can join if you're watching the video medium. A good place to find that information is going to the website and joining the newsletter as well, where we'll keep you up to date with the latest events. But I think we'll leave it there for today. So thank you very much, Jaden. Thank you, Lulu.
Thank
you for joining us. Have a wonderful day.